Hi guys, my name is Kirsty and welcome back to Upside Down Books. Today we are going to be looking at all the reading challenges that I have set myself for next year.
Non più tra I farfalloni amoroso, notte e giorno di torno.
I'm really excited. I made myself a little list so I wouldn't forget because we know that I probably would otherwise, but I have got a great plan for my reading for next year. Now, I will be doing my final year of my postgrad study next year, so how much time I actually have to read, I have no idea, but let's just pretend that I'm gonna be able to get a good amount of reading done, and we will see what happens. So I've actually got quite a few challenges that I'm setting for myself in 2021. There's a lot of things I want to try and do, and I like to have a lot of fun with my reading challenges. These vary from like the number of books I want to read, to the type of books I want to read, to particular challenges that I'm going to be participating in. So let's start going through it. I will be releasing one, maybe two videos that are going into more depth explaining some particular challenges. So this is just going to be an overview of everything, but anything that's a little bit more complex, I will make a particular challenge for that we can refer back to as the year rolls on. So the first thing that I will be attempting to do is to meet a Goodreads reading challenge. In 2020, I had initially tried to hit 100 books and failed miserably. I slowly reduced that goal over the year to 60 books, and whilst that's a good amount of books, I did still want to read a bit more. So I'm not going to go so high as 100, I'm going to slowly build it up until one day I hit that goal. But for 2021, I am going to try and read 75 books. That is my goal. 75 books would be a nice, happy sort of number to land on because I was trying to do this realistically, and I did so by having a look at what I've done in the past. In one particularly good year, I managed to read, I think, about 85 books, but on, I think, 3 other years, I managed to read somewhere between 70 and 75. So I'm going to try and set myself at a sort of an in-between range of my highest reading years and go for 75 books. This will, of course, mean that I'll need to read quite a good number of books throughout the year and keep up a good pace. So I don't know how realistic it's going to be without getting through the year and seeing what my studies are going to be like and what work is going to be like, but I am hopeful that I'm going to hit that number. I feel like I really found my reading groove in the second half of the year. I had a few patchy months at the beginning of the year, but right now I'm feeling confident that I can manage it in a way that means that I will hit this challenge. So good luck to me in trying to read 75 books. So I will be doing my TBR jar, I will be continuing that, and I will be picking my books from my different categories throughout the year, but there will be an exception in the months of May and December. So that brings me into my next challenge, or my next two challenges for 2021, and these are challenges that I have been trying to achieve over the last few years and have probably done the best job this year. And that is to read my presents from Christmas and my birthday before the next Christmas and birthday rolls around. So I am currently in a special TBR for December where I am doing like a reading rush of all the remaining Christmas books from 2019 to get them read in December before I get my next haul of Christmas books in 2020. As Christmas has not happened yet, I don't know what that TBR is going to look like because I don't even know how many books I'll be getting, let alone which books, but in 2021, come next December, I will be making sure that I want every single one of the books I receive this Christmas read by next Christmas. And I think with my new TBR jar for the presents going on, that has been a lot easier to try and keep me going and on track throughout the year. But if we look specifically to my birthday, I still have quite a lot of books from my birthday in 2020 that I will need to get around to before May of 2021. The sun has just decided to blind me, but let's carry on. I still have 9 books from this birthday that I have not got around to yet, so I'm going to be trying to get to those. So I'm going to quickly show you through the ones that are still left as of when I am filming this that I will try to slowly get to over the next 5 or 6 months. And then depending on how many I have left, which I imagine will still be a good handful, in May of 2021 I will be doing another Reading Rush TBR where I will be trying to finish off, like I'm doing now, all the books that I have not finished yet. So these include Burn by Patrick Ness. This is a book that I have been super anticipating being pulled out of my TBR, and I'm really excited to read it. I've not read any books by Patrick Ness yet. Angel Mage by Garth Nix. I also have not read a book by Garth Nix before, so this will be my first Garth Nix book probably by the time I get to it, and it's another fantasy, so that's really exciting. Adam Silvera's latest fantasy, which is Infinity Sun. I am super excited to read this, even though it hasn't had the best reviews. I am really anticipating that I am going to enjoy it quite a lot. The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. I have not read The Night Circus, which is her other really popular book, but I've heard loads of good things about this one, and this is probably one of the most anticipated ones on this TBR. I have a really good feeling that this is just going to be an absolutely epic story. Sherwood by Megan Spooner. I read Hunted earlier this year and absolutely loved it, so I'm really excited to delve into this Robin Hood retelling in anticipation of, I think, her Peter Pan retelling, which is either coming out in December of this year or at some point in next year. I'm not 100% sure, but I think she does a really good job of doing retelling, so I'm really looking forward to this one. The Loop by Ben Oliver. This one is a science fiction, which should be a nice breezy read, and I'm quite excited to see how the story pans out. Skywood by Brandon Sanderson. Again, this will be my first Brandon Sanderson book, most likely, if I get to this one, and I've heard nothing but amazing things about this. Once Upon a River by Diane Setterfield. Diane Setterfield is one of my favourite authors. I really have enjoyed her previous books, such as The 13th Tale, so I'm hoping that this one is just as good as her previous books. And finally, Stain by A.G. Howard. A.G. Howard is one of my favourite YA fantasy authors, and this is a retelling of The Princess and the Pea, I do believe. So those are some of the books I will be trying to read for that particular challenge, but let's move on to a couple of the others. I am also planning on participating in Tome Topple this year. That's a readathon that is hosted by someone. I can't remember. I haven't looked at any of the details. I just noted that this year when it came around, I thought, I really would have liked to have done Tome Topple, but these things sort of only really get promoted when the month comes around, and I've already sorted my TBR for that, so I'm trying to plan ahead so that I can actually participate in one of them, because it was held in August of 2020, so I'm anticipating that it's going to be held in August of 2021. Now, there are quite a few books on my TBR that are rather large. A lot of them happen to be classics. I'm not necessarily going to be pushing myself to read the classics just because I know it's probably going to take me quite a while. However, I have picked out 4 books on my TBR that are some of the biggest and the highest page counts that I would potentially consider including into my TBR for Tome Topple. I can't remember if this is like a month-long readathon or a week. I have absolutely no idea, so I just thought I would show you some of the ones I would be considering. So those include A Clash of Kings by George R.R. Martin, which is the second book in the Game of Thrones series. I actually really loved Game of Thrones, but I just have not mustered the courage to pick this one up. This one is clocking in at, I think, just over 900 pages. So I do think this one looks a little worse than it is, but I am definitely intimidated to read this one. But this would probably be quite high up there. But bear in mind that as with any of these books, they may get picked out of my TBR jar system before August rolls around, in which case I would have to look at different books. The next one is also a sequel, and that is The Blinding Knife by Brent Weeks, which is the sequel to The Black Prism. I really loved this series so far. This one is about 750 pages long, so it's a little bit shorter than A Clash of Kings, but I think I'll really enjoy reading this one. I'm not too intimidated by it. This is actually quite a relatively new acquisition. I then have one I've been putting off for the longest of time, and that is The Wise Man's Fear by Patrick Rothfuss. I really don't like this edition. That's one of the main reasons I have been put off. However, my dad has recently bought a nicer edition of this, so maybe I could pick it up, but I'm also a little bit hesitant to continue reading this series. We do not have the final book in the series yet, and I'm really worried that by the time the third book comes out, I will have completely forgotten this. But this is an absolutely behemoth book. This is nearly 1,100 pages long. It is absolutely massive, but it is a fantastic story. And the final candidate that I could pick at the moment would be Tigana by Guy Gavriel Kay. This is a book that's been sitting on my TBR for ages. It has actually got a bent spine all by itself. It's just so big that it bent itself. I think this one is about 800 pages long, and I'm really intrigued to read not only this but other books by Guy Gavriel Kay, and I've just not got around to them yet. So those are 4 ideas I'm loosely thinking and planning of picking up and reading when Tome Topple rolls around, if they don't come out of my TBR sooner. So that is that challenge. We are getting there. We've got a few more challenges to get through. I then have just a general sort of reminder that I don't want any arcs left behind. I feel like I've done a really good job in 2020 of making sure that I have been getting around to some of the arcs when they come in and making room for them within the month. I have a pretty big backlog of books, a lot of unsolicited books that have come in that I've not managed to get around to just because it's quite overwhelming, the number that come in sometimes, and I find it really frustrating that there are so many left behind that I've not gotten around to. So in 2021, I want to make a real push that if I receive a book, I need to make room in my TBR and a real effort to get that read and reviewed on time. And I feel like on the whole, I've actually put a pretty good effort into this in 2020, so I would like to continue that forward. And that brings me to my final 2 challenges, which are the ones with quite a bit of fun in them. These are 2 challenges I have created for myself that I'm really excited about, and I will be doing extra videos on. I have created this little visual journal for me to track for these ones. I just thought this would be really fun, so we're going to start with a smaller, less complicated one, and that is basically in 2021, I want to read as many of Colleen Hoover's books as I possibly can. I have loved every single one of Colleen Hoover's books that I have read so far, and I want to make it like an active mission of mine to read more of her stuff. So what I have done in this diary is I have made a little list. I'll give you a close-up look that looks like this. I've just printed out all the covers of all of Colleen Hoover's books. And I've got all the stars here, and I'm going to colour them in as I read them. And I'm going to try and get through as many as I can. So I'm really excited to do this. There are obviously a few, like Hopeless and Losing Hope here, I have already read. And things like Verity, but I have so many more to get to. So what my plan is that instead of buying all these books, because for some reason Colleen Hoover's books are always quite expensive in Australia, I'm finding, and there are so many of them, I'm actually going to be making this a library challenge. So that is one of the goals, is I'm going to be trying to read all of those. I'm going to further explain this challenge in a separate video or in a blog post, so you can keep your eyes peeled for those if you want to know more about that challenge, but I'm really excited for it. And the second one, which is in the front of this journal, is I am going to be trying to predict the Goodreads Choice Awards for 2021. I'm not going to be trying to predict all of them. I have written up like these genres here, and I've penciled in some of my initial guesses. So these are the genres I would probably be attempting to read. So what I'm basically going to be doing is I'm going to pick 3 of my guesses that I think are going to make the candidates list for the 2021 Goodreads Choice Awards, and I'm going to try and read at least one of them. But as I said, there will be a further video explaining my process, what books I'm picking, and how this is going to fit into my TBR. That brings us to the end of this video. That is how my reading year for 2021 is shaping up to look like at the moment. I hope you're as excited as I am to follow me through all these challenges. I am really looking forward to sitting down and explaining to you all of my choices for the Goodreads Choice Award Prediction Challenge. I think that's going to be a lot of fun, but I am looking forward to all of the good books that are sure to be read next year. Let me know down in the comments below if you really like the idea of any of these challenges in particular, or any books that you're really excited to read next year, and I will see you in my next video. Goodbye.
Alle gloria militar